Hello, everybody. My name is Gavin Graves. I'm the design lead.
I'm Hunter Walton. I'm the tech lead for the project.
Yeah, and we'll be kind of just going through what we had and what we're planning for the rest of this sprint, for the rest of this March 8th. Yeah, till March 8th, 30th, whatever. So first off, I'll go through the kind of the general story that we have. And do you want to pull that up on the Miro for me?
Yeah.
All right. So it's a pretty simple story. Basically, you're in the Y2K era corporate world, and your boss is just a real drag, and you get reported to HR for not being pretty likable. Everyone's really rude to you, and you just try your best to be nice, but that doesn't cut it in the corporate world. So you get laid off, you get fired, you get kicked out, and you have to start all the way from floor 1 and work your way back up using insults against your corporate coworkers. And so that sort of was our original sort of concept, stemming from the concept of the bubble. We really wanted to do speech bubbles, do something very different other than just water. And we have really been pushing that to its limits and really bringing out all the ideas that could possibly have. This has led to a lot of design issues, but we've been working around them as best we can. And do you want to showcase the game that we have?
Yes, the current state of the game right now, we are currently in development, so a lot has changed since our initial release on itch. But here is kind of state of the game right now. So here is your main character. You are able to shoot speech bubbles with your right bumper on your controller, and with your left bumper, you're able to suck in projectiles. One big change since our original version is during our original version, ammo was very much a resource, so you had to suck in speech bubbles in order to shoot out speech bubbles. But now ammo is more of a power-up in a way. Players in our initial playtesting were kind of frustrated. They felt like not having any ammo and being defenseless was a bit frustrating, but obviously we didn't want to give just unlimited ammo and that's it, because that would really hurt our main driving point of the game, which is being able to suck in projectiles and shoot stuff out. So now, whenever you suck in these colored projectiles, you now gain a few shots of those. So this is an AoE projectile, and it does AoE damage. And we have a few other types. Some of them are in the works, but the whole point now is you are able to suck in these special speech bubble types, not only as a defensive thing, but also as a way to power yourself up. And it's incentivized by the fact that these special projectile types will do a lot more damage and be a lot more impactful than the base shot that you normally have. So like this red one, it will one-shot the enemy, versus if I have a white one, which is my normal shot that I have by default, I have to hit an enemy 3 times in order to take them out. One other big change that we've been pushing since our initial release is we've completely ported the game over to controller. There is still going to be mouse and keyboard support, but we are going to be making the game controller-based, or with the intention of controller. And with that, we've been trying to keep controls as simple as possible. So right now, you use your right stick to aim your megaphone, your left stick to walk around, right bumper to shoot, left bumper to suck in projectiles. And that's kind of where we're at in terms of gameplay that we've currently implemented. So Gavin, if you want to take it on some of the design stuff.
But beyond that, what we've been pushing with a lot of it is how these different projectiles are going to act, because speech bubbles at first seem like they're going to be pretty simple to do, but they're actually quite complicated because we have to deal with them moving fast enough to be dangerous, but also slow enough to be readable, because that's one of our big things. We want to maintain that the things that they're saying that we've spent time writing are actually going to be insults that you can see from a distance and see in the middle of gameplay. We've been pushing our designs in order to sort of orient this the best we can. One of those is going to be bouncy ammo, and so this is going to push our level design really far. The current state of the level is what it was during Game Jam, but we are right now blocking out a lot of different levels in order to have these bouncy projectiles really be useful, because as they bounce, they do more damage and more damage until they inevitably explode. So this will make a lot of controlled chaos, which I think will be really sort of dynamic and fun for the player. And as well as we can place enemies that have paths where they shoot so that they can make danger zones. We've also been looking at fast ammo, which is kind of like a sniper rifle in a sense, where the more you hold it, the farther it goes, and then it'll shoot straight through and take out a lot of enemies at once. This will allow you to have a lot of range more than anything else, and also pull the camera out with that action. On top of that, we also have one attack where you say one thing and it shoots 3 more out, similar to something like a shotgun. And this will shoot in a cone and go a very short distance and then explode in a volley. And so this will make sure that any sort of close range enemies that are swarming you, you could take out in an instant. On top of that, we have the AoE, which we've been showing already, but we have a big change coming where we're going to have hold to increase range, and then once you let it go, it'll volley forward and explode on impact. This will make it where the same inputs are always the same sort of feel, but always operate slightly differently. This will make it where there's a level of mastery that the player has to have, but also a level of elegance to our design. I can also show you some of the level design changes we've been operating on. One of the big focuses that we've had was this sort of design philosophy that we kind of came to by looking at games that were very different in terms of this bullet hell sort of genre. One of those being Enter the Gungeon, which it has a lot of small projectiles going in a lot of different directions. They make use of large open areas. We said, well, in order to counter that, in order to make single projectiles more dynamic, we're going to design around these sort of linear hallways that branch out into other hallways, similar like an office building. We want to make sure that it maintains the same building feel and it doesn't really break reality in a lot of ways, but also that there's no dead ends. We want the player to be able to progress through quickly and want to fight their time, because that's what this game is about. It is about beating the clock and making sure that you don't go over time and you can actually defeat your boss at the very end. So that's a lot of that's going on. We also have one boss in the works that we're really planning on. We're really conscientious of scope creep, and a lot of that has to do with just the fact that we've worked on quite a few projects, but none that's ever gotten this far, and we want to make sure that we don't kick ourselves in the butt and do too much but have bad quality. So we're going for one boss by the end of this sort of event, and the boss is supposed to be a lot of very different mechanics that also tie into the things we've already seen in the game. It's going to be your CEO, and you're going to take him over and take his position, RoboCop style. There's also going to be a progression through mastery, but we're not going to be delving into roguelike elements, because we find that those can really tend to bloat your game very quickly and also become redundant and not as dynamic as you might hope. And they can also be very complicated to implement, but we want to make sure that our game feels good no matter what. We have a couple things also planned past March, and we've been breaking everything up into these sections where we have stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. We've broken up our 3 sort of level clusters. I wouldn't say they're straight up levels, but they're kind of like regions of the building. So stage 1 is going to be our first course of action. This is what we're already working on, which is the current office and the receptionist tutorial. It's going to be like the first floor. And then as we go on, we're making sure that everything we implement is going to be their own sort of little chunks that don't take away from the previous thing we've worked on. And so that if we ever come to a point where we can't work anymore, we are able to just cut it and go. And we can, make sure that everything before that was still polished. And this is going to be the 30 minutes where you have the final boss and the finance room. So this is going to be within March. And then we have the post-March, which is the polish and extras. We want to do a waiting room right before the CEO battle, but also an outside the building section where you can cause a little bit of chaos. On top of that, we've been working really hard to make sure that we have a successful launch. And the way we do that is through, one, we have a social media page on Instagram and X that we've been maintaining. We have people dedicated to that. We also have an art team who's creating assets for that, which come from our cinematics team. And so they kind of dip in because they developed the style for it. So that whenever we have our free Steam release, we can actually really get a good launch, and employers can see that and be like, oh, they know what they're doing. We also have everything in this game, which is kind of crazy because it's something we usually are against, is bespoke. It kind of happened by accident, but everything we've made in this game is fully custom, including the music, the sound design, and also all of the models and the environments. So right now we have a large log of things that we are making and we have yet to implement because we're making sure that our design is top-notch first. Is with that, I think, do we have any questions? We can drop also the Spotify. We have a current, it's the Game Jam version of the 48-hour version of our soundtrack, which includes 3 tracks in their sort of roughest state by our wonderful composer Carson. And I can post that in the chat if you'd like.
Yeah, we'd love to see that in the chat.
Here we go.
Lots of good stuff here. Do you want to talk a little bit more, or you want me to start throwing questions and comments?
I'd love to hear some questions, honestly.
All right. More comments and questions. First of all, a lot of comments on additions, which I would actually recommend keeping your streamline focused and avoiding adding too much. But Medi says, make a Steam page like yesterday.
We already have a Steam page currently being approved by Valve. We already made the payment. We have the account made, and so that is all already in the works.
Very cool. Michael Revitt says, yeah, I'm a little quiet, Lily. I just realized that that Discord's grabbing the wrong microphone again, so he's back and forth on me. Let's see. Upgrade. Something to be good is upgrades between levels or over time, and more difficult enemies each floor. Keep upping the ante. I mean, I love the idea that your characters are coming out of their social bubbles and their isolation. Do this. I was throwing around ideas for new weapons, especially instead of bullet time, you implement bubble time. We've got something that slows things down while you speed around, since time is a major theme in the game. I just love the idea of bubble time.
That's fun.
Yeah, a lot of interest in maybe there's a way to change out guns, but again, keep streamlined. Most of the comments we're seeing are cool additions because you're inspiring everybody to great ideas for it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been trying to make sure that we trim as much fat as possible so that we can make the game feel as strong as possible. That is probably our biggest focus more than anything. Yeah.
Thanks, Rachel. Tell me the music's overpowering my voice. I hope that helped a little bit. The other comment is, in a game like this, it's very easy when the developers are the main testers for you to be making the difficulty higher and higher, so it is good for you. So we recommend making sure lots of folks are testing this to make sure that doesn't happen, that it stays for a more general audience.
Yeah, so from here on, starting this Saturday, we're going to be doing weekly builds, and SCAD here has a club called GDN, which is just all of the game developers at SCAD, and so they've asked us to come for playtesting this weekend to go ahead and start on that. But past that, we're going to be doing weekly builds and kind of trying to set up playtest groups and stuff for that to help with difficulty progression.
But also beyond that, once we get our Steam page, you can run playtests through Steam, and hopefully if we get enough traction on our social media, we can actually branch out and use virtual testing. So there's people outside of our bubble.
Oh, good one. Good one. All right. Great stuff from Suck It Up. Thank you very much.